Welcome to Living Large on Little. I'm Beth Stevenson, and today we're with my son, Dr. Scott Stevenson. He's a dentist, and he's going to teach us some ways that we can save money by taking good care of our teeth.
So everybody knows that if you've been to the dentist in the last 30 years, you know that dental work can be very, very expensive. There's probably no quicker way to drain your savings than to go into the dentist and have them tell you that you need a whole bunch of dental work. What I wanted to do is talk a little bit about maintenance, because you can save yourself a ton of money over the years by doing proper maintenance on your teeth, so that when you go into the dentist, it's a cleaning, an exam, and you're done. So I've written here, there are kind of three main things that will cause you to lose your teeth over the course of your lifetime. There are other reasons, but these are going to cover 99.9% of tooth loss. So the first one is the one that most people recognize. It's tooth decay or cavities. So anytime we put something in our mouth, it has the potential to cause cavities, depending on what it is. Here's something that is important to understand. All cavities are caused by acid in your mouth. And the acid can get there in a number of ways. Your dentist will usually recommend, eating low sugar and things like that. And the reason is because we have bacteria in our mouth, and the bacteria actually take the sugar and they metabolize it, and then they spit out acid, and then the acid eats at our teeth just like it eats at everything else. Another way to get acid into our mouth is by eating something acidic. People don't always recognize common sources of acid. You might wake up in the morning and feel like you want to have a healthy breakfast, and so you'll go and have a bagel and some orange juice, and you go away feeling great. The problem is that what you don't realize is that you just put a whole bunch of sugar and acid. Something like orange juice, very sugary and very acidic. And so as soon as that goes into your mouth, before the bacteria even have a chance to start eating up the sugar, the pH or the acidity of orange juice is low enough that your teeth are actually decaying before, even if there wasn't a single bacteria in your mouth. So once again, sugar and acid they all end up as acid, and they eat away at your teeth.
So it doesn't matter if it's natural sugar, it doesn't matter if it's a different source like honey or something like.
Not really. The other sources of sugar, like the artificial sweeteners and things like that, are similar in bacteria as they are to us. Most bacteria can't metabolize them, so artificial sweeteners won't be turned into acid by bacteria just because their cells can't metabolize the artificial sweeteners, just like ours can't. That's why they don't have any calories in them. So I'm going to write a bullet point here. I'm just going to write acid. So a few things that can help to prevent acid in your mouth. A lot of people don't think of little things that they do that causes the acid to have more of a foothold in their mouth. Dry teeth tend to be very prone to decay from acid. So little things like sleeping with your mouth open. If you've ever woken up in the morning and your mouth is completely dry, yeah, exactly. If you've left anything on your teeth from the night before, which inevitably, no toothbrush is 100% efficient, you will have something on your teeth somewhere. And all night long, from the time that your teeth dry out, that acid is just sitting on the teeth, causing decay. And so sleeping with your mouth open, where your mouth dries out a lot and your saliva isn't there to buffer the acid, can cause a lot of tooth decay. I have also a lot of patients. And by the way, for someone who's a mouth open sleeper, I usually recommend trying to sleep in a different position. You can, if you're used to sleeping on your back and the jaw kind of relaxes open and back, then try sleeping on your side. Sometimes that'll help. You can kind of retrain yourself to sleep with your mouth closed.
Sometimes I kind of brace myself with a pillow, brace my chin with a pillow, just to keep my chin closed and my mouth closed.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. And it sounds silly, but little things like this can make such a huge difference. And everything that you do can tilt the scales either in your favor or against you. So little things like that are a good idea. At least until you've trained yourself to sleep with your mouth open to the point where you might, with your mouth closed.
Yeah.
And then you can take away the pillow or whatever if you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had a lot of patients who come in and they're getting into their 60s and 70s, and all of a sudden they have been put on new medications. Probably half of the medications out there, I mean, I'm just ballparking, but there are tons and tons and tons of medications that people can be put on that can cause a dry mouth. And so at the time that your doctor is prescribing new medications, it might be something, especially if you're prone to decay in your mouth, it might be something to talk to your doctor about if dry mouth is one of the side effects. Because it can, I've seen patients that have had 1 or 2 cavities their entire lives, and then they're in their 60s and 70s, and all of a sudden they've got 8, 9, 10 cavities. And they're sitting there going, what the heck happened,
Yeah, it makes it look like it's your fault.
Yeah.
That you're trying to jack up the price.
Yeah. So I'm going to write on here dry mouth. Your own saliva is one of the best things to protect your mouth from getting decay. So if you have a dry mouth at night, we talked about that. If you have a dry mouth during the day, carry a bottle of water or something, and just frequently be putting water in your mouth. So moving on to the second one. The second one is bone loss. So tooth decay is something that happens generally at a younger age. I mean, it can happen throughout your life, but I see a lot more people losing teeth to tooth decay at a younger age. Bone loss is something that generally you'll see people losing teeth later on in life. Now, some of the things that cause bone loss, it's called periodontitis, and it's not something that you can really see. If you look in your mouth in the mirror, your gums might look pretty normal, but underneath the bone is being eaten away. It's a very long-term process, and so it takes a long time, which is why you don't generally see people losing their teeth to it until they're later in life. It's a process that's been happening probably for 30 or 40 years, but by the time I see them, the damage is done, and the bone is resorbed, and there's not much I can do to put it back in most cases. So
other than old age, are there other causes of bone loss?
Well, so old age isn't necessarily an indication of bone loss. So bone loss can be caused by a number of things. If you get buildup under the gums, just of food and bacteria and things like that, your immune system will react to that, and then because the gums become a little bit inflamed, the bone will recede away from the inflammation. So that's one thing. Having frequent cleanings and things like that, making sure that you're flossing and brushing really well. That's why dentists always hit that so hard, because it's one of those things that you don't really see. It's kind of like high blood pressure. You don't see it, but it's kind of the silent killer. Periodontitis is kind of the silent killer for our teeth. So. And unfortunately, I have patients come in and they've got generally, if they look in the mirror, their teeth generally look okay, but this process has been happening for a long time, and they've just come in because one tooth is starting to feel a little loose. So we take some x-rays and we see there's hardly any bone around any of the teeth. And that's really hard for a dentist to have to tell someone, listen, you're probably going to lose the vast majority of your teeth over the next couple of years when they're not expecting that kind of news.
Yeah.
But inevitably one of the teeth is going to get loose before the others, and so it's hard news to have to share with someone. But it is what it is. So other than just build up under the gums, another thing, this is almost 100% predictor of bone loss, is smoking for a long period of time. 99.999% of people who smoke for 20 or 30 years will lose the vast majority of the bone in their mouth. Generally, once again, there are always exceptions to the rule, and people will probably comment in the thing, about how they had their grandma's brother's, uncle's, son's, nephew who smoked his whole life and never lost his teeth. But I promise you that if you looked at an X-ray, the bone or his life just ended before the bone loss got severe enough. Because it's almost 100% predictor where if you smoke for a long period of time, you will lose the bone. Most of the time, most patients that I see, by the time they're 55 or 60 is about the time that they're pretty much ready for dentures because there's no more bone.
I'll write that on here.
So yeah, let's go ahead and we'll say smoking. And we'll say build up. That's just, build up under the gums.
Build up the plaque and bacteria.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. The final thing is trauma. Now this is something, this one's a little harder to prevent because, you're not expecting it, you're not trying to hit your mouth on something, but you see some people sometimes who have been involved in a ski accident or something like that, and they've had a front tooth knocked out. I always think it's kind of funny almost when I have a patient come in and they've got perfect teeth everywhere except for one tooth in the front, and it's had a root canal and a crown. I always know with those patients that there's some kind of an interesting story behind it, because
something
happened to that tooth. Yeah. And so I always ask them, and they always say, "Oh man, that was a softball when I was in 8th grade or something," But the trauma will knock a tooth out. If that does happen, I would get to the dentist as soon as you can. Don't think that by avoiding the dentist you're going to save yourself any time, money, or pain in the end, because the quicker that dentist can see that tooth, the more likelihood it is that you can save the tooth actually. In some cases with a tooth that's knocked out, if you get to the dentist quickly, he can actually put it back in, splint it, and likelihood is that you'll keep the tooth.
It'll heal?
Yeah. You'll probably need a root canal on it, but
eventually or right away? If it's not
generally pretty quick.
Out,
Generally pretty quick, because you've just cut off all the blood supply and everything to the inside of that tooth, which is where the tissue dies and causes the need for a root canal.
Okay.
So to kind of recap, a couple of things that you can do. Obviously, I know this gets old, hearing it from dentists, but brushing your teeth after breakfast and after dinner are one of the best things that you could do. If you don't have any toothpaste, just use water, and that's okay. The toothbrush does all the work. So make sure that you're very thorough with your toothbrush, cover all the surfaces, and just make sure that you're getting everything off of them, and then floss. If you only have 10 seconds to floss, then make sure you're moving it around. If your schedule's booked that tight, then floss over here, and then the next day floss over here, and then over here, because anything's better than nothing. So
yeah.
So brushing and flossing.
What about a fluoride rinse, mouthwash type stuff?
Yeah, a good fluoride rinse is a good idea. So once you're an adult and the teeth are already in your mouth, you cannot damage your teeth with fluoride. There's something called fluorosis, where you have too much fluoride. That happens as your teeth are forming, before they actually come out of the gums. So that happens at a very, very young age in childhood. But once the teeth are in your mouth, you can apply as much fluoride as you want, and it will not hurt you. You don't want to swallow it really, because it can give you a bellyache and cause issues that way. But you can have a topical application of fluoride, without causing any damage.
You can buy it at the store, just something that has cavity prevention or something on the label.
Yeah, and they're also very, very high fluoride toothpaste that your dentist can put you on if you're prone to getting a lot of decay. And fluoride will help to prevent decay in the future. So it's not a silver bullet. You can still get cavities, but it's certainly helpful. So keeping your teeth clean is one. Being careful to eat at regular times during the day is another one. So when I was in the Army, so I went through through dental school on an Army scholarship, and then after I graduated from dental school, I served active duty for some time. I used to see guys who would come in and they would have just a ton of decay. And the reason is because sometimes the Army would put them on these 24-hour shifts where they had to work for, they had to be on guard duty or something for 24 hours. And they'd get an energy drink, and they'd just drink that energy drink for 24 hours. They might go through a couple of them. If I had two patients standing in front of me, and one of them had a habit of drinking maybe a 2-liter thing of soda pop every day, and then I had another patient who drank a little 4-ounce thing of soda pop every day. If the guy who drinks the 2 liters just took it and chugged it down and then rinsed his mouth out all within 10 minutes, his teeth would get very little decay. Somebody who actually takes 4 ounces of soda pop or orange juice or energy drink or whatever, and drinks it throughout the day, just kind of sips it, that person is going to get a ton of decay, because your teeth care mostly about the length of time that they're being exposed to cavity-causing agents. So the point is decrease the amount of time that your teeth are being exposed to things that cause cavities, like sugars and acids, acidic food and sugary food, and increase the amount of time that your teeth are being bathed in your own saliva. One of the benefits of our own saliva is that it has minerals in it that actually help to recalcify our teeth. So if you have the very, very, very beginnings of decalcification before it's turned into a cavity, you can actually recalcify it, and it won't ever turn into a cavity. So, like I said, just doing little things to tip the scales in the direction of recalcifying your teeth can be super, super beneficial, and can save you a ton of money down the road. Another thing to think about is, if I put some orange juice in my mouth, or if I put an energy drink in my mouth, it's bathing all of my teeth, basically, especially the bottom ones, because gravity kind of pulls it down, but it's bathing all the teeth, and so it's going to cause decay, on all the teeth. Yeah. It's not just, generally it's not just going to cause a cavity here or there. It's going to cause, a lot of cavities everywhere. And once again, that gets very, very expensive.
Well, and orange juice isn't the only culprit. Anything that's a little bit acidic and sugary, both. It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and I use orange juice as an example specifically because it's something that people think of as being very healthy, and it is. It's got nutrients in it that our bodies need. But I say it because I want people to be aware of what they're putting in their mouth. Is it sugary or is it acidic? Because those are the ingredients that cause decay. So we've talked about keeping your mouth well rinsed, increasing the amount of time that your teeth are only bathed in only your own saliva, trying to find ways to sleep with your mouth closed so that your teeth are staying wet all night long. I think this is one that is drastically it gets underemphasized. Yeah, it gets way too little attention because it's not really something that people are aware of or can control. But like I said, you can do little things like changing sleeping positions that can help. As far as bone loss goes, smoking. Everyone seems like they're trying to quit smoking who smokes.
You hope.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but even decreasing the amount that you smoke can be very beneficial. Having buildup of plaque under the gum line, really the best thing is just go. I know, like I said, dental work is expensive, but if you keep up with it, it's not too bad. So going in for a cleaning, for example, is not too expensive. So if you go in for your regular 6-month cleanings, your dentist can identify if there's a lot of buildup under the gums, and they can clean it all off. Like I said, it's a long-term investment. You might spend a little bit along the way to get the cleanings. But when you have that appointment at the age of 55 or 60, you're not going to go in and have the dentist drop a bomb on you and tell you that it's time for dentures. I don't remember if I said that before, but the vast majority of people who have lost all the bone, there's no way to put it back, and so it's pretty much dentures of one form or another. And there are options like implant-based dentures and things like that. But if you wanted to really spend a lot, you can go in and do all implants, and if there's sufficient bone in the right places and everything, you can sometimes find enough bone and do implants and bridges. But I'm always very hesitant on those patients because I know that implants will lose bone just like the teeth did, and so generally speaking, as a general rule of thumb, it's going to be dentures, and that's hard news to hear. Dentures are not fun. Okay. The last one, trauma. I don't really know how to advise you on that. If you're an adrenaline junkie, then
avoid bowling balls and mountain biking and
you might. It's not a bad idea to wear a mouth guard or something. And even if it's just one of the ones that you wear, in middle school football or something that you get from CVS Pharmacy, that can actually be super beneficial. So that's probably the best advice.
If you're doing something dangerous.
If you're doing something dangerous, you don't have to wear it around on a day-to-day. But if you're mountain biking, skiing, any of that kind of stuff, you can either have your dentist make you a custom one, or just go to CVS Pharmacy or something and get yourself one of the little $10 ones from there. The little boil and bite mouth guards are just fine too. So that'll help protect your teeth from trauma. Just to give you an idea, if I have someone come in and they've knocked out a front tooth, generally, and this is generally true, almost anywhere in the country, in some areas it's going to be a little more expensive, but having one dental implant placed with a tooth on top of it is going to run somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000. In certain areas of the country, it'll be more expensive than that, but generally, $3,000 and north of that is about what you're looking at. So
Scott practices dentistry in Pocatello, Idaho, and so it's probably tends to be less expensive there, just because the cost of living is generally less expensive there.
Yeah, that's true. So like I said, you can save yourself so much money down the road. And so much suffering, and like I said, dentures and things like that are no fun. It's I've had patients that have come in and told me, I'm tired of my teeth, just take them all out and let's do dentures, and I have to tell them, listen, dentures are no picnic. It's it's not like getting a new set of teeth. In dental school they always used to say it's not a replacement for teeth, it's a replacement for having no teeth. In other words,
it's better than nothing, but
yeah,
it's not
better
much.
than nothing, exactly. So
yeah.
You can save yourself so much suffering, so much money, so much everything just by doing the maintenance along the way. And then when you're 80 years old, you'll still have your own teeth, and you won't have expended all the money and resources to keep them.
And the discomfort and the inconvenience and all of that.
Yeah. It's painful. It's expensive. It's time consuming. So whatever it is that the cost is, however you want to measure the cost, it's expensive in every way. So yeah.
Well, thanks, Scott. I think that this is really good advice, and there's a lot of things that I hadn't known before you taught me these things as you became a professional. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for visiting with us.